In each World Cup, there's a small team that surprises everyone. Teams that nobody paid much attention, but went very far, creating the crazier underdog stories ever. So in this video, we're gonna see the biggest underdog of each World Cup. From USA 1994 all the way to Qatar 2022. Starting in 1994. And in that World Cup, hosted in the United States, there was a national team that was almost unknown, but made a campaign so impressive that shocked everyone. This was a national team that was never that good, having failed to qualify for 7 World Cups before, and in the ones that did play, their best campaign was only 15th place. But in 1994, this national team reached the semi-finals. Bulgaria. At the time, Bulgaria had never even played in an UEFA Euro, so when they went to compete in 1994, nobody paid much attention to them, and just making it past the group stage was gonna be very difficult. Actually, everyone thought they'd be soon eliminated, because in the first match, they lost 3-0 to Nigeria, a humiliation. But in the second match against the weak Greece, they won 4-0. Now the third game was against Argentina, the current runners-up with Maradona. And that was when Bulgaria showed they were gonna surprise. With Barcelona's star Stoichkov, Bulgaria won 2-0. Yes, they defeated Argentina and advanced to the knockout stage. Then in the round of 16, they faced Mexico and had a tough game, where they drew 1-1 and won on penalties. Bulgaria was going to the quarterfinals. But now their campaign would probably end there, because the next opponent was Germany, the current champion. Yes, and they had almost the same winning squad, with Matthaus and Voller. So they went to the game and Germany scored the first goal. It seemed to be the end. Until at the 75th minute, from a free kick, Stoichkov equalized. And while the Bulgarians were still celebrating,
to Yakov. Neat turn by him. And Lechkov going in, and it's another one! Bulgaria are in front, Lechkov!
Bulgaria won and qualified for the semi-finals. They defeated the current champion, and now they were just one game away from reaching a World Cup final. But this time against Italy, Baggio scored 2 goals, and even though Stoichkov scored from a penalty, they couldn't turn it around and were finally eliminated, finishing the World Cup in 4th place. They literally lost 3-0 to Nigeria in the first match, but finished 4th. And this was just the first underdog of the video. We're gonna see even crazier stories and underdogs that surprise everyone, from 1998 all the way to 2022. So now let's go to the next World Cup. In 1998 hosted in France, and Bulgaria also played, but this time were eliminated in the group stage. So another team surprised everyone. This was a team that fell into a group with Argentina, Japan, Jamaica, and was playing its first World Cup. Croatia. Yes, Croatia was part of the former Yugoslavia, and it was only in the 1990s that they became an independent country, forming their own national team. And right off the bat, they won the first 2 games, securing a spot in the knockout stage. Only in the third match did they lose to Argentina, yet they qualified, and in the round of 16 they went to play against Romania. Romania also had a good team, but Croatia managed to secure a spot in the quarterfinals with a 1-0 victory. They were already making a surprising campaign. But now in the quarterfinals, the opponent was Germany. It seemed impossible for Croatia to qualify. But with their number 10, Zvonimir Boban, and number 9, Croatia played one of their greatest games in history.
Yanni with a shot, what's it? Goran Vlahovic wins it for... It's good night and thank you.
3-0. Croatia humiliated Germany and went to the semi-finals. They reached the top 4. And now in the semi-final, they faced the home team, France. And the home team had a tough time. Croatia even scored the opener, but then France turned it around. But their journey didn't end there. They still went for the 3rd place playoff against the Netherlands, and they won. In its first World Cup, Croatia got a 3rd place. Not even the former Yugoslavia had finished 3rd. A huge surprise. So now let's go to the next World Cup, where we find a team that literally almost made it to the final and never qualified again. This was a team that fell into a group with Brazil, Costa Rica, and China. Turkey. This was the first time Turkey played in a World Cup in almost 50 years. So they went for it, lost the first game to Brazil, and drew the second against Costa Rica. Turkey only managed to win against China. They weren't having an amazing campaign, yet they managed to qualify in 2nd place. Now in the round of 16, they were gonna face one of the home teams, Japan. Even though Japan played in their own stadium, Turkey was better, and early in the first half in the corner, Davala headed and scored the only goal of the match. The Turkey national team was in the quarterfinals, and now they faced another surprising team, Senegal. Whichever team passed would be a giant underdog. And this game was very balanced, going to extra time. And in extra time, there was the golden goal rule. First goal wins. So in the 94th minute,
They made Vivada's cross. Ilan, it's there. Turkey are through.
Turkey was in a semi-final. Who would have imagined? Now if they won just one more match, they would be in a final. But this time they fell against Brazil. So with a goal from Ronaldo, they were eliminated. But also in the third place playoff, they faced the other home team, South Korea, which also made a historic campaign, and they won. Turkey finished third place. They won a bronze medal, finishing only behind Brazil and Germany. Really impressive. But believe it or not, after that, Turkey never qualified again. They never played another World Cup. Crazy, right? So now let's go to the next one. The 2006 World Cup hosted in Germany. And there was another national team that never played again. This was a team coached by the legendary former player Oleg Blokhin and had a captain Shevchenko. The Ukraine national team. Ukraine was in its first World Cup as an independent country, and right in the first match, they lost 4-0 to Spain. They were humiliated and couldn't do anything. Everyone saw they would be eliminated very quickly. But their group also had Tunisia and Saudi Arabia, so they managed to win the next games and qualified. And now in the round of 16, they faced a team that played really well in the group stage, Switzerland. Switzerland had finished first in their group, so they were favorites to qualify. But against Ukraine, the game was very balanced, with both teams hitting the post, but nobody scored and it went to penalties. And on penalties, Switzerland made history. They were the first team in a World Cup to miss every shot. So by 3-0, Ukraine qualified. Ukraine was in the top 8 of the World Cup, something that nobody would have imagined when they lost 4-0 to Spain, who at this point was already eliminated. But in the quarterfinals, they faced Italy, who would be the champion that year, so they lost 3-0. Ukraine finished 8th place, ahead of teams like Spain and the Netherlands, a real surprise. But now leaving 2006, let's go to the next World Cup, South Africa 2010. This cup was legendary, full of surprises, and a big surprise happened in the group stage. In the group of the defending champion Italy, there was Paraguay, Slovakia and New Zealand. Yes, New Zealand qualified and had everything to make the worst campaign. None of their players were from a top-flight European team. They played in teams from New Zealand, Australia, United States and English 2nd Division. They didn't seem to have any chances, until they drew the first game with Slovakia with a goal in stoppage time. They were not defeated, but now the next game was gonna be against Italy. Just imagine, it was New Zealand against the current champion. But right in the 7th minute, who scored the opener was New Zealand. Then Italy equalized from a penalty and the match ended in a draw. New Zealand tied with Italy. That deserved the title. Now the last game was against Paraguay. If they won, they would be in the knockout stage. So they went all in. But the ball didn't wanna go in and they ended in another draw. By just 1 point, New Zealand finished 3rd in the group and was eliminated, leaving the World Cup without losing any game. They were the only unbeaten team in 2010, believe it or not. And before we go to the biggest underdog of the 2014 World Cup, which in my opinion was the most impressive, in 2010 there were still other surprising campaigns, like Ghana that reached the quarterfinals and Uruguay. Uruguay couldn't make a good World Cup since 1970. Until in 2010 with Forlan and Suarez, they finished first in the group, eliminated South Korea, Ghana on penalties, and only lost in the semi-finals against the Netherlands with a great 3-2 match. Then they also had a big game against Germany, but also lost by 3-2 and finished 4th place. Nobody imagined that Uruguay would finish among the top 4. So now let's go to the 2014 World Cup. That had, in my opinion, the most shocking underdog ever. This was a team that was already considered eliminated even before the tournament started because they fell into the group of death. In 2014, there was an absurdly difficult group, which had Uruguay, 2010 semi-finalist, Italy, 2006 champion, and England. 7 World Cup titles in total. And the unlucky team that had to play against them was the small Costa Rica. Costa Rica had failed to qualify for the previous cup and in 2006 was the 2nd worst team, losing all matches. So everyone felt sorry for them, were considered eliminated. So they went to the first game against Uruguay and Costa Rica conceded the first goal. It was happening as everyone imagined, until the second half came.
Turn it in. Duarte is there. Urena. Oh, I don't believe this.
3-1. Costa Rica defeated Uruguay and shocked the world. Now in the next game against Italy,
Diaz. Ruiz against the bar down and in. Costa Rica have their lead.
1-0. Costa Rica defeated Italy and secured a spot in the knockout stage. They defeated the team with Buffon, Pirlo and Balotelli. Now in the game against England, they drew. So instead of being eliminated, Costa Rica finished first place. 2 wins and 1 draw. Just that could already be worth as a title. Now they went to the round of 16, faced Greece and started winning. But one player was sent off, so they conceded a goal at the end and went to penalties. Then a keeper, Keylor Navas, showed his ability making a huge save and Costa Rica went to the quarterfinals. Costa Rica was among the top 8. And in the next game, they faced the Netherlands, the current runner-up. It was a very difficult game against a team of Robben and Van Persie. So nobody scored and it went to penalties again. Costa Rica was 1 penalty shootout away from reaching a semi-final. But this time it didn't work out. The Netherlands keeper saved twice and Costa Rica was eliminated. They were defeated without losing a single game. This was so impressive that Keylor Navas, who played for Levante, was immediately bought by Real Madrid and you know how it went. And now after Costa Rica, in 2018, another unexpected team managed to go even further. And it was a team that went through all knockout stage matches going into extra time. Croatia. After Croatia got 3rd place in 1998, it had never done anything similar. They fell in the group stage in 2002 and 2006, didn't qualify for 2010, and in 2014 they also fell in the group stage, a real decline. Their squad wasn't bad at all, yet due to their history of group stage eliminations, almost nobody paid much attention. Then in the first game against Nigeria, they already showed their strength by winning 2-0. But Croatia proved they could go far in the next game against Argentina. Even with Messi playing, in the second half Croatia destroyed them, scoring 3 goals. Now in the last game, they also won against Iceland to stay undefeated. They qualified for the round of 16 and in the knockout stage defeated Denmark on penalties. After that, they also defeated the home team Russia on penalties. For the first time in 20 years, Croatia was back in the semi-final. And competing for a place in the grand final, they faced England. England was gonna give everything to reach the final, and Croatia was more tired from having played 2 extra times. So early in the game, from a free kick, England scored with Trippier, 1-0, until in the second half, Perisic raised his foot to push it into the goal and took the match to extra time. There was another penalty shootout coming, but in extra time,
Walker improvised a clearance, kept alive by Perisic, chance here, it's in! Mandzukic may just have won this semi-final for Croatia.
2-1, and for the first time in history, Croatia was in a World Cup final. Never, not even a former Yugoslavia had reached a World Cup final. Then in the final against France with Mbappe, they lost 4-2, finishing 2nd place. But imagine, a team that was 20th in the FIFA ranking reached the final, made history. So after this surprising underdog in 2018, let's go to the next World Cup, Qatar 2022. And again, there was a country that no one imagined that would go that far. This team that shocked everyone in 2022 had been eliminated in the group stage of the previous cup and didn't even manage to qualify for 2002, 2006, 2010 and not even for 2014. The Morocco national team. In the FIFA ranking, Morocco was in 22nd place, and a few years earlier, they were even below 40th. So even though they had good players like Bono, Embarat, Hamdallah, Hakim and Ziyech, they weren't the team that people talked about that much. Then in the group stage, they kinda had bad luck, cause they fell into a group with Canada with Davis, the current runner-up Croatia and Belgium, who had finished 3rd in the previous cup. But Morocco showed that they weren't there to be eliminated early. They drew against Croatia, won against Canada, and against Belgium it was 2-0. They scored 2 goals and went to the knockout stage. Then in the round of 16, they faced Spain, which had players like Busquets, Pedri, Gavi, Laporte and others. It was a very good team. But against Morocco, they couldn't do anything and the game went to penalties. And on penalties, the Spanish trembled. Sarabia hit the post and Bono saved the other two. Morocco was in the quarterfinals. They had never reached the quarterfinals before, and now they were gonna face another strong team, Portugal. Portugal had everything to reach the semi-final, but then at the 42nd minute,
Achatala. In the series! The Moroccan miracle is still on!
1-0, and then Bono made gigantic, almost impossible saves to prevent Portugal from scoring. So for the first time in history, an African team reached the semi-finals. Never had an African team reach the top 4. But it all ended with a defeat from France and from Croatia, finishing the World Cup in 4th place. Who would have imagined that a team that was ranked 22nd and eliminated in the group stage the previous cup would go that far? Did you like this video? So check out this other one that I posted. I think you're gonna like it. Thank you and bye.